think most people, or at least I, know of you as DJ Clientele and
Yes.
Clientele, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people maybe think of you just as Clientele. So, but I think it's important to break down the name and the meaning because you talk about that in your book, your autobiography. But
Yeah.
as people can see, it's DJ Clientele and then Mark Hawkins.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you break down the acronym in the book as well as the genesis of the name, which I think is important and interesting because you had, even as a little kid, you had business ideas and business understanding why business was important and structures of business. So explain how you came up with the name and the acronym.
Is cultural linguist of intelligence and teacher of enlightened learning. That's the breakdown of it. But in addition to that, I wanted to do something or pick a name that basically said, hey, listen, you got to believe in yourself. And even when other people don't believe in you, you have to keep going and believe in, what you are doing. So I was like, well, what describes that? What word, kind of says that? And I was like, okay, well, when you have a business, you have what's called a clientele. That's your clientele, the people who frequent your establishment, the people who believe in your business. I'm like, well, okay. If I believe in myself, I believe in my own business. Therefore, I'm actually my own clientele. So originally, my name was the clientele, which sort of it was not even a one person, but it represented a lot of people. But then I shortened it to clientele, and eventually, when I really got into the whole DJ side of it, it was DJ clientele, and as you see on that very first um, single we did with Dre, you see DJ Clientele on there, and even with the first one we did with Yella Slice, it's DJ Clientele. So that's kind of like where that whole concept came from, and yeah, it was informing my whole idea about business, because I understand. Man, I used to read, books on the stock market, in high school, and IRAs and Kiogs, and I just wanted to know, stuff. I wanted to know about that kind of thing and be informed that what kid in the hood thinks like that. You know what I'm saying? But the library was one of my favorite places to go. And I would hoof it up there to the library and just sit there all day sometimes when I had time and just kick it and read, man. And I eventually end up working at the dang on place. And so that was like I was like a kid in the candy store. But yeah, that's where clientele sort of came from.
Well, speaking of reading a lot too, you talk about in your book about reading the dictionary in an attempt to improve your vocabulary. And I think uh, it's interesting because, I've heard of different people reading a dictionary for whatever reason, but the desire to do it to help you with your rapping um, and your writing and your poetry, etc. So, how and why did you get that idea?
I mean, it was important. I felt that if I was going to be a wordsmith and try to be the best at it, I needed the tools, and knowing the words were the tools. I even listen, and I'm being honest. I even got criticized for my rap style. People say, "Man, you're using too many big words, man. You need to dumb that down. You need to tone that down." But I'm like, "Nah, why? Why should I? Why should I? Tone down my rap just because somebody needs to carry a thesaurus or a dictionary to figure out what I'm saying. Carry the damn thesaurus or the dictionary and learn the damn words, So, but I did. So that was sort of like my thinking, and I figured, well, if I'm going to be a person who writes, because it wasn't just because I don't just write raps, I write songs too, and so I wanted to make sure that I gave myself all the tools. I had all the tools at my disposal to be able to do that in the appropriate way. So that's why I did that. I read the dictionary from cover to cover, and that's why when I would go to my grandmother's house, they had a set of encyclopedias over there that I would just dive into. You coming outside to play? Nah, man, I'm gonna check out this book right here real quick. So I was into all that kind of stuff, man, and that was just that type of dude. I mean, people looked at that as being, some folks anyway looked at that as being, weird or into your own thing. But hell, I was just a curious person. I wanted to know everything about everything if I could. That's
Yeah.
why.
Well, it seems like it served you well. So congratulations on that.
Nah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. But then also, dedication seems to be a very recurring theme in your life and your work. And you talk about that in your book as well, because the rap contest at Eve After Dark, where McKinley kind of flaked and you went
Yeah.
ahead and did it on your own and ended up winning. What made you not want to just wait for him to do it? What made you just want to do it on your own?
Well, yeah. So McKinley was always flaky. You know what I'm saying? Good dude. He very talented. He could dance his butt off. He would do this dance. Actually, when Joe and I would do our routine sometimes at the parties, McKinley would get out there and just start breaking, or he would do this tutting, this whole routine that he worked on. But McKinley had other issues, man. He was in and out of he was in and out of his house. Moms would kick him out, let him back, kick him out, let him back, and he eventually got on drugs. But yeah, he flaked on me that day. We had worked on a routine all that week because Lonzo had announced that, hey, we're gonna have this contest, $100. Come on, bring your best rhymes, all that kind of stuff. So we went up there. I went up there, and the day of, McKinley just, hey man, just going up there and do one of those routines you do with Joe Cooley. So we went up there, me and Joe, and I didn't even know this at the time, but actually Scotty D was in the building. And Scotty D, yeah, I remember that day. I remember the day you won that contest. I'm like, wow. So anyway, went there. Um, I noticed that the other MCs were just talking about themselves, rapping about their cars and their clothes and whatnot. I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's not hip hop. At least that's not the hip hop that I know. The hip hop I know gets the crowd involved. The hip hop I know motivates people. MC, like Rakim said, MC means move the crowd. So when I got up there, obviously the first thing I did was start chanting off a bunch of the stuff that I do, the call and response stuff that I do with Joe Cooley, and that hyped the crowd up. Then I went into my own little unit. Then I'm Cli-N-Tel, the master of all trades, and that kind of stuff. But always kept going on and coming back to motivating the crowd, because you got to know how to read your audience, man. And that's either as a DJ, MC, whatever it is. If you're doing something and that crowd is not feeling it, you got to flip the script and figure out a way to motivate them. So anyway, did that, won the contest, but Lonzo didn't give me my money that night. And that's how Lonzo kind of was. He always would throw a rope out there and pull you in, right? Pull you in. So I'm like, wait a minute, okay, it's cool. Yeah, all right, I guess I won the contest, but the dude ain't paid me my money. So he's, yeah, come on back, and I want to talk to you about some things. Now at the time, I didn't know. I didn't know that Lonzo was trying to do some music stuff and make records and all of that. So went back, we met, and he told me, he said, yeah, I'm thinking about, starting a label, and I want to make records, and you're a very talented guy. I want to make a record. I said, all right. I had one friend of mine who I knew from the neighborhood. He had made this like little gimmick record called the Football Rap, and his name was he called himself Rappenstein, and so the rap was like shaped like a football, and he was the closest thing I knew to a celebrity that had actually made a record. So I'm like, wow, this dude is asking me to make a record. That's cool. So I had to go back to my crew, Joe and Nick and Carlos, and tell them. And they gave me their blessings. They're like, man, hell yeah, man, go and do that. Man, make that happen. Good luck with that. So went and did that. And eventually, like I said, the rest is history in terms of Wrecking Crew. And we didn't know the first thing. Me, Yella, Lonzo, we did not know the first thing about records and necessarily being in a studio. That was my first time ever in a quote unquote professional studio. Come to find out later, it wasn't that professional, but it was at least a studio that had a mixing board and recording equipment and stuff like that. But that was my first time ever in that kind of environment. But I had already had my rap pieces down. At that time, I had a photogenic memory. Not so much now, but then, yes. And so I could look at a piece of something or hear something once or twice, and then boom. you know, in my memory. So we went in and man, I think I did the song in one take. And so we had so much more time left in the studio that Lonzo was like, "Well, you got something else?" I'm like, "Yeah." So Yella hurried up, scurried, and programmed the beat real quick. And you know, then I just like did some stuff off the top of the dome, and you know, we did that whole Slice record, that first record. But yeah, that's how that all went down, man. That's how I joined the Wrecking Crew. Actually, that same day that I went to meet with Lonzo, I saw this skinny dude up there on the turntables practicing, who I had known from junior high school. He's my buddy in junior high school. I said, "Oh, I know that dude. He in this too?" I said, "Well, listen, if he joined, I'm gonna join too." And that, you know, of course, the skinny dude was Dre. You know?
Yep, Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
So as far as Slice with DJ Yella, how did you uh, apply battle raps and using all these big words to what you ended up writing for Slice for Yella and Wrecking Crew?
Yeah, that's what I did. You know, I mean, I was using words, you know, multi-syllabic words, as they say. I'm syncopating, innovating, captivating, motivating, synchronizing, memorizing, all that stuff. And like, you know, but anyway, the point was that for me, it was about the wordplay. It was about because I didn't believe, you know, and don't get me wrong, they my dudes now, but I did not believe that the cats in New York were better than me. I believed that I was better than all of them, and I wanted to battle all of them. I wanted to battle Run DMC. I wanted to battle Curtis Blow. I wanted to get them all. You know, Dougie Fresh, you name it. But that was just my spirit, my nature as an MC. So when we did Slice, I studied Yella's mixing, and but not only his mixing. I took time to like observe how he interacted with the crowd, what he did on the turntables, because you know he was one of the first. He was one of the innovators to really do not just the scratching part, but put all the pieces of DJing at a club together for the West Coast. His sort of his technique, his ability was more than just being up there and blending the records. Yella would know how to break down the records, find the break beats, and keep that going, and then start adding in those other little extra elements. So for us, Yella was like Big Bro to me and Dre. So I studied what he was doing on the turntables, and that's what gave me the idea to do Slice. And you know, like I said, all that stuff that I was saying in there was really based on my observations of, you know, me doing my homework and research on just, you know, studying Yella. I just took one night, took a couple of hours, and just watched everything, and he was sat back and watched everything he was doing, and then boom, you know, came up with those lyrics.
Got it. And then around this time or soon thereafter, getting to do the K Day opportunities arrived with Greg Mack to start doing some of the mixes. And I think it's important that, you know, of course, people know Dre and Yellis for their mixes, but you had some as well
I did. I
for,
did.
for
I
the
was I
traffic.
was I was a mix master too. All right. So most people would only want to associate me with just writing the raps and being the MC for the Wrecking Crew. No, I was actually a DJ too for the Wrecking Crew, and yes, I was actually a K Day mix master as well. But when Greg brought us on as mix masters, he brought us on as a group. So he brought us on as the Wrecking Crew. But nobody thought to break down each individual person in the crew, or when they saw me doing most of the rapping, so they just associated me with just the rapping part, and then Dre and Yella only doing the traffic jam mixes. But yes, I did some of those mixes as well. Um, the 5 o'clock traffic jam mixes. I wrote a lot of the skits too. So we would infuse little sayings and skits and little different things that, you know, in there. And of course, you know, with the programming, you know, we all discussed what songs we were going to put into the mixes every day. And so yeah, so I helped, you know, with the programming, with the music, with all that stuff, with the engineering. I didn't just, you know, sit there with a, you know, with a pipe smoking and waiting for Yella and Dre to do stuff. A lot of times they weren't even around, and even a lot of times Lonzo never even was around or even touched that equipment. He just showed up to pick up the mixes and then go and drop them off at K Day. So he didn't even know, you know, that whole piece of it. But yeah, I was a mix master too, and I did do some of those mixes as well. But my main emphasis in Wrecking Crew, or my number one job was, of course, being the lyricist.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.